Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's call. We're going to be discussing, one second, I'll put everyone into mute. We're going to be discussing an important topic today. We're talking about what we can say in regards to claims as we're talking about and promoting the Nikend business and products. This is really important because, as we know, there are certainly plenty of rules and requirements around what we can't say, but there isn't always a lot of conversation going on about what we can say. And so today we're going to take that perspective. I'm coming at this, I think, from a position of great experience, right? So as you know, many years ago, I used to work for Amway and ran their UK market and was there at a time in charge at a time when the government came and took us to court, and their objective was to shut the business down. There was a year-long investigation that took place with forensic accountants and all that type of folk that took residence in my office. We had to provide them places to sit, and they could come and sit down and work and take everything that they wanted from the office in terms of information, data, confidential information, emails, marketing information, minutes from business meetings, absolutely everything. They were wheeling out trolley after trolley after trolley of photocopied information that they went through with literally forensic detail. And like I said, their objective was to shut the business down. I'm pleased to say we won the court case. There were a lot of people that were covertly in the courtroom from other companies watching what was happening, because they were well aware, of course, what was happening there for Amway was really a benchmark and a litmus test for them and their companies too, because the concerns that were raised weren't specific to Amway per se. It was just happened that they targeted that particular company, that the concerns, the issues really applied across the board, right? So I went through a heavy process of reevaluating the compensation plan, recreating it with, of course, with a team around us, relaunching the business. We made so many changes to the policies and procedures. We had to terminate everyone's contracts and then ask them to sign in with brand new ones. It was, needless to say, a very stressful exercise, but boy, was it instructive. Coming out of that, every job that I went for, I got real fast in the direct sales industry. It was a great education, a great experience. But this is the point that I want to emphasize today. What we're going to go over today is, like I said, in many instances, if we're uncertain or unsure about what we can or can't say in terms of claims and positioning of our message or our opportunity, what have you, who do we reach out to? We reach out to the company, and of course it gets deferred to the compliance department, because the compliance reviews things to make sure that it's legal, sound, and appropriate, right? So they will come out with a red pen and go, can't say that, can't say that, can't say that. And they've got their hot phrases, right? You can't say, of course, words like treat, prevent, or cure, because that immediately defines the product as medicinal. And that means if it's medicinal, then we need to have certain licenses or paperwork that justifies that the product is that, and so on and so forth. And it gets complicated. So we can't use certain phrases. So compliance will go through and they'll look for those key phrases that they go, we can't use, or those buzzwords, like Lorraine mentioned before, residual. You can't say residual income. Yeah, all these little kind of nuances. But what that does for us is we then get frustrated and go, oh my gosh, what can I say? Right? And then we get all kind of fraught because all the things we're used to saying, we can no longer say, or perhaps no longer say with confidence, or we're needing to pivot and change and adjust and what have you. But the reality is, most of us are only scratching the surface in terms of what we can do in effective marketing claims and language. We take a couple of little pieces and we play in those spaces, and they're the ones often that cause concern for regulators. So I'm going to share today some key language and techniques that marketers around the world use all the time. I'm going to use real life examples of each scenario where they're using a particular technique or method or linguistic tool, I'm going to use an example that you have seen and may recognize and find familiar because it's been on TV, on magazines, on radio, or whatever it is. And then I'm going to use a Nikken example to see it in context for us. Does that sound good? So give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, here we go. Okay, quick thumbs up that you can see my screen, all right? Yeah, okay, excellent. Okay, so we're going to talk about there's 3 different types of marketing claims that we can make. And these tend to go in the context of explaining what, why, and into the how. And of course, the where and the when. These contact claims, as you can see, cover issues that are relevant to specific countries, channels, retailers, seasons, current events, all that type of stuff. It's a contextual message, right? Now, we also have points of differentiation, and of course, category drivers. Oops, 1 second. So I'm going to start here. Sorry, I jumped too far ahead. Category driver. So this is at the most basic level, where it's explaining the benefit of your product category. It's quite a broad brush approach here. And you can see here the main goal of category driver claims are to educate, reassure, and what have you. And we often kind of fit into that space when it comes to making claims because we are wanting to educate, inform, and assure, right? So that's often the motive behind some of our claims. But we do need to dig deeper than this. So when you've got points of differentiation, this is when you're using words that are like superlatives, we're the best, proof points, our products are natural and organic, or even simple statements. We do things so that you don't have to, right? Do the thing that you don't have to. But they can all kind of come into this point of differentiation. And then, like I said before, the contextual claim, which gives you the overall context in regards to what you're doing. For example, maybe it's time for the Super Bowl and you're experiencing a heat wave or what have you in your area, and the context claim is usually temporary and it relates to that specific event or experience, and it gives you context and a framework to make a strong point in that regard. So I'm going to go through some examples here, and I would invite you maybe to make a note, write down some words here that stand out to you, and let's go from here. This first one is called the weasel claim. Now, keep in mind, what I'm doing here is sharing with you examples that all professional marketers use around the world because, and I'm going to just pause my screen share for just a second, because network marketing is not the only industry that is regulated by the FTC. All industries are regulated. We all have governing bodies. We all have government industry sectors that make sure that companies and industries are behaving properly, right? So this is not unique to us, this challenge of knowing what to say and what to do here. It applies across the board everywhere. And as I go through these examples, you will see, I've heard that kind of language before, and you will know when you hear it, they're looking for workarounds just like we are, right? So it's a common challenge, but there are common solutions. Okay, so let's jump back into this example here. So we've got the weasel claim. The weasel claim is referenced this way because, as some of you may know, weasels, if they go hunting for eggs, what do? They often pierce the egg, and rather than breaking it, they drink the contents without breaking the egg, leaving it looking unharmed when in fact inside it's empty and hollow. So this is really what the weasel claim is, or a weasel word is a modifier. So it negates the claim that follows because it allows you to make assumptions and bridge the gap a little bit. Here are 3 examples of weasel claims or weasel words. You can see in the example 1, let's see if you can spot what the weasel word is. Example 1, helps control dandruff symptoms with regular use. Okay, there's the claim. This product helps control dandruff symptoms with regular use. Of course, like I said, I am going to go into some Nikken examples in a sec to follow this, so don't worry. The weasel words are helps control. Well, what exactly does helps control mean? Right, we make assumptions there, don't we? We bridge the gap as the consumer, and really what we're looking at here, what we read, is it controls dandruff symptoms with regular use, right? It doesn't stop it, doesn't say that, and it doesn't even say it controls it. It says it helps to control. To what degree? We haven't actually specified, okay, with regular use. Well, what does regular mean? 3 times? A week? A month? A year? What does regular look like? Okay, so, and we haven't even defined symptoms either. Okay, so you've got a whole lot of ambiguity there that the consumer completely ignores and reads it totally different. Let's look at example 2. Leaves dishes virtually spotless. Have you heard a phrase like that before when you're watching television and some dishwashing liquid is being advertised? It leaves it virtually spotless. It doesn't say that it leaves it spotless. It's virtually spotless. Okay, so a different one there. Listerine fights bad breath. It doesn't say it stops it, it fights it. You see the power of these words here? It gives us a wonderful assumption, doesn't it, as the reader, because we know what that implies, but it isn't stated specifically. It's a weasel word. Make a note of these words. These are great words to play with that you can use when making claims. Helps. This is the champion weasel word right there. Like, in a comparative sense, right? This is like something. We're not saying it's exactly the same. It's like it. Virtual or virtually. Acts, meaning it acts in this way, but doesn't mean it is that way. It's acting that way. Or it works. Up to, as much as, refreshes, comforts, tackles, fights, the feel of, the look of, looks like, fortified, enriched, and strengthened. You see how those words imply, suggest, but don't define or make a specific claim. Now let's look at this in the context of Nikan and see how we can put some of these words in. Let's look at Jade Greenzymes. Jade Greenzymes makes your immune system feel like it's 21 again. We're not saying your immune system will behave like it's 21 again. We're using a simile. It's behaving like it's 21 again. We can totally use that example. 10-4 helps fight tiredness and fatigue, refreshing your energy levels when you need it most. We aren't saying it does, we're saying it helps. Okay, and we can use that, of course, with a number of different nutritionals, can't we? So the Naturist Mattress Topper comforts you while you're asleep, offering virtually the best night's sleep you've ever had. Okay, I'm going to pause for just a second, the screen. I've got a hand raised. Pam, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, we were told you cannot use the word help.
You cannot even use the word help.
No, that word is out of the vocabulary.
Okay, well, let's go back to these other words then. Okay, I would, yeah, okay, that's interesting because technically speaking, that weasel word is a common, like I said, it's one of the most common weasel words used by marketers across the board. So what we're looking at here is Nikan's interpretation of what degree of risk are we willing to take. Nikan's policy is typically a zero risk approach. Okay, so they might tighten up a little bit in that regard, but those other weasel words, I would certainly say play with, get comfortable with, familiarize yourself with. And the critical point of this here is really looking at what is the marketing person striving to do. They need to make a claim, they need to give a message, they need to hint at, allude to, suggest, but they can't necessarily come out and directly state, right? And that's what the weasel words do, is it gives us some space to play without being very to the point. Barbara Richmond.
Thanks, Ben. In the example that you used about helps control dandruff, do you think, in view of the fact that we're not allowed to use the word help anymore, possibly diminishes the appearance of dandruff as an example?
Yeah, you can certainly use that. I would play around. Let's look at some of these other ones. You've got, for example, using the word like, looks like, fortified, strengthened, enriched, acts. So there's certainly some, you want to, as you use these different words, this is just me being a little bit finicky, perhaps. What you said, Barbara, 100% you could use, right? That's okay. It diminishes the effects. For example, you could talk about that because you're not saying exactly how much, in what degree, to what extent, over what period of time. There's some ambiguity there, right? But what you want to do as well is use words that have a degree of rhythm and ease of expression. So does it flow out of my mouth comfortably? Does it read comfortably? You want to have a little bit of poetry in there, if that makes sense. It does take a little bit of crafting. Sorry, you were going to say something.
If you preface the statement with could, then that takes away the fact that you're making a claim.
Exactly. Yeah. And Jeannie's put in a good one: works to control. Yeah, works to control. Yeah. So let's jump onto I've got a few more examples here, which are really good. So let's jump in and look at some of these others. 1 second. Let's go back to sharing my screen. Okay. So we've used the weasel claim. Okay. Examples like comforts you. The naturist mattress topper comforts you while you sleep, offering virtually the best night's sleep you've ever had. Okay. So the unfinished claim. The goal of the unfinished claim is to say it's better or more than the competition, without actually specifying how. It's an unfinished claim. So you suggest and imply, but you don't actually finish the claim. So this, for example, words that you can use here: more, better, softer, quieter, wetter, less, twice as much. Okay, a couple of examples here. Magnavox gives you more. Well, more what exactly? Okay, example 2, Scott makes it better for you. Well, better than what? But can you see how we're so familiar with this language? It sounds, we're so used to hearing it. We go, yeah, I've heard that all the time. But our brain finishes the sentence in our head. Ford, this is an interesting one. They once made a claim, the Ford LTT makes it 700% quieter. Right? Well, they got a bit ambitious there because they got a little bit specific. When the FTC asked Ford to substantiate their claim, what do you mean 700% quieter? Quieter than what? Well, their response came back, quieter than outside. Right? So they were being a little bit more risky there and saying 700% quieter. But let's look at some examples here for Niken. You can be sure if you're drinking Niken water, it's better. Okay, you pause. Better than what exactly? You haven't made a claim that can be challenged. You can be sure if you're drinking Niken water, it's better. You'll get more sleep with the Niken sleep system. Well, more than what? Again, it's an unfinished claim. Progesterone offers you better cardiovascular support, better blood pressure, better cholesterol level. Well, again, better than what? Okay, so using that word better and then unfinishing the sentence certainly helps in that regard. Or not unfinishing the sentence, but unfinishing the claim, I should say, leaving the claim unfinished. It gives people a chance to just make the assumption, but you've not actually stated anything specific. I think these 3 examples are good ones. The scientific or statistical claim. This is a kind of an example, I think, that we often do like to get into statistical claims, I think, in network marketing, because we feel that's where the validation comes the strongest. And of course, there is benefits to this. Of course, specific numbers or an impressive mystery ingredient sounds intriguing, right? So example 1, Easy Off has 33% more cleaning power than another popular brand. Another popular brand often translates as some kind of oven cleaner sold somewhere else, but it doesn't say it works 33% better. Okay, it just says it's got more cleaning powder. Notice what they did there? They used the statistic pretty carefully. I'll read it again. Easy Off has 33% more cleaning power than another popular brand. It doesn't say that it has better cleaning ability. Special Morning, 33% more nutrition. Also, this is an unfinished claim, isn't it? 33% more nutrition than what? Exactly. Cinerest, created by a research scientist who actually gets sinus headaches. That's an interesting one. So how does this work? Kedco Power Mini has patented Dynaflux magnetic technology with 12 750 Gauss magnets, which ease stress and strain points in a targeted way. Okay. The Backflex offers patented Dynaflex technology, which provides wonderful lower back support. Relax with the Kenko Mag Duo. Its dynamic field of magnetic energy, it can support immediate relief. I've modified that for you in light of the earlier comments. So again, we want to be a little bit careful in regards to statistical claims, but combining that with an unfinished claim, I think makes it quite powerful. Okay, this next one, the weird, different, and unique claim. I like this one because this is certainly something that we can play with a lot in NECAM. This is really suggesting that there's nothing else quite like our product that we're promoting. So here are a couple of regular examples. I'll jump into some NECAM ones after the slide. There's no other mascara like it. Well, that could mean a whole bunch of things, couldn't it? Because it's garbage. I don't know. Yeah, you could say all sorts to finish that assumption, but the assumption is there's no other mascara like it because it's the best one around. Only Doral has this unique filter system. The assumption is it's better. It's not actually even said it's better, even though you can use that word. It's just emphasizing the unique and different claim. Either way, liquid or spray, there's nothing else like it. Again, the consumer interprets that as superior. See how much, I just want to pause here for a second and just emphasize what we're noticing here. You see what marketers are doing with these kind of linguistic tools for marketing. They're understanding that the consumer, the reader, the person that they're speaking with is going to interact and make assumptions about what they're saying. That's totally true, right? Whatever we say, people are going to make assumptions about what we're saying. They're going to interpret it their way. But when they have the power of pause, pause of thought and a little bit of control. How many times have we said, don't vomit out everything you know, right? We're excited and we want to regurgitate all the facts and information that we've got. And in doing that, we get people kind of overwhelmed. How am I going to learn as much as you know? But we're also making the assumption that I need to tell you everything I know in order for you to make an informed decision or for you to understand this in the proper context. What these marketers are demonstrating is I'm going to say a little bit and I'm going to trust that they're going to interpret that a certain way, which is exactly what we do. We do it all the time. How many of you, as I've shared those examples from other marketers and other brands, have made the same assumption that I've told you the marketers are assuming all consumers will make? We all did it this morning, right? So have trust and confidence when you're making these claims that people will fill in the gap. Okay, so let's look back now at the NECAM example. Okay. Only NECAM filters water this way. There's no other insoles in the market like these. Again, what's the assumption in that statement? That what we're providing, what we're talking about, is superior and unique. And we've not made any particular claim that any regulator can have concerns with in saying that. There is nothing out there like Kenzen immunity. It sounds like it's the best you can get. Now we know that it is, right? But if we turn around and say, this is the best because, now all of a sudden you've got to back it up, and then it becomes a different framework and a different conversation. Let me just close my door 1 second. Okay, so the weird, different, and unique claims, I think, are really fun to play with. And again, sometimes they pull in the unfinished claim and kind of support there. But what we're doing here is we're allowing the consumer to fill in the gaps and make the assumptions. And we do that all the time. As you look at those three examples there, Did you assume when we say only Nikan filters water this way, that it is a superior way of filtration? 100%. There are no other insoles in the market like these. Does that make it sound revolutionary and it's the best out there? 100%. But we didn't even say that. But we assume it as a consumer. Nothing out there like this product. Well, what does that mean exactly? That can mean a whole bunch of things, right? And regulators, being governed by law, have to get to the letter of things, and there is no letter of things to get to in that statement. So it's comfortable for us. The vague claim. The vague claim is simply not clear. I kind of like this one. It does overlap a little bit with some of the other examples, but it uses words that are colorful but meaningless, right? So it does contain some weasel words. Now, understand that, you know, I'll go through these examples and I'll make this point. Okay, a couple of examples here. It's deep, rich lather makes your hair feel good again. Again, let's get into the legality of that statement. How do you confirm how good hair should feel? What's the measurement for that? What's the barometer? What exactly does that mean? It's wonderfully ambiguous, but the implication of what we're saying, we know what it means. We understand what's being said, but we're not actually saying all that much. But the richness of the words certainly paints a picture that allows us, because our minds are wonderfully metaphoric, right? We use metaphor to interpret the world around us all the time. We can fill in the gaps and understand what's being said. Lips have never looked so luscious. Okay, try proving that as a claim. You can neither prove nor disprove that lips look luscious in this way or that way. It's purely opinion, isn't it? And there's no real measurement or barometer for that either. For skin like peaches and cream, you see the weasel word there, like, and the metaphor of peaches and cream, these wonderful, rich kind of phrases that make you go, oh, peaches and cream sounds delicious. I'd like my skin to look and feel delicious. Okay, but you can see again, there's a lot that's being said, a lot that's being understood and interpreted, but at the same time, not a lot has been said. So we can use vagueness here in order to get the message across by allowing the consumer to fill in the gaps. Okay, let's look at some examples here. Kenzen joint makes your knees feel great again. Okay, Kenzen vital balance, your stomach will thank you for it. I like that one. The Kenko seat, give your seat the best seat. All right, so these are just playful words that you can use with that can give us a chance to suggest and imply an awful lot without needing to say all that much at all in terms of legality, right? I'm going to pause for just a second again and emphasize some of these words. I've used the example of, you know, we're implying, we're not stating specifically. We're suggesting, but we're not really finishing the sentence or the claim, I should say. We're using metaphor or shallow words that are rich and meaningful in their imagery, but meaningless in their words, right? In their application. Please don't misinterpret that using this type of language and these types of claims diminishes the value of the Nikan products. It does not. It actually helps us get the message across better, because so many of us, when we're trying to make claims, go exactly to scientific or informative messages that are statements of fact only, and marketing isn't built on statements of fact. It's built on emotion. The purpose of marketing is to create an emotional experience that inclines us to act. The word emotion comes from the Latin word motare, meaning to move. The purpose of our emotions is to move us to action. Information doesn't always move us. It might educate us and inform us, but it might not necessarily inspire and motivate one to act. So this type of language, even though it may seem fluffy and shallow or hollow or metaphorical or unfinished or whatever it might be that you want to interpret it as, understand it actually does a great job in delivering your message without you needing to say it explicitly. And that is powerful. It's powerful, especially when all of these other companies and industries around the world are using exactly the same techniques. Why? Because they work. They work. And we work with it. We understand it. We get it. It's instinctive to us. It's second nature to us. We're surrounded by it all the time. We don't second guess it. We don't challenge it. We go, I get what you're trying to say. We don't even verbalize that in our head and go, no, I understand what you're saying. We just know. We just know. So these words, although they are playful, carefully selected, crafted cleverly, unfinished claims, weasel words, all that kind of stuff, understand there's genius in it. There's genius in it. Okay, I've got a couple more, then we'll stop. Okay, 1 second. Okay, the compliment the consumer claim. This kind of claim butters them up. I like this one, with some form of flattery. I like this. Let's a couple of examples here. You pride yourself on your good home cooking. We think a Volvo driver is someone special. For people with taste. Can you see how powerful these are? Because what does that do to you as a consumer if you're reading this? You pride yourself on your good home cooking. Yes, I do. Yeah, and as a result of that, the next statement really has power and value to you, doesn't it? We think Volvo drivers are someone special. For people with taste. I think these are great examples. The Niken water system is for people who pride themselves in healthy living. Women that wear Niken jewelry value elegance. Men and women that understand the power of antioxidants use Niken's Super Siaga. You see the benefit of these? It really connects them in a very positive way. What we're doing is we're complimenting the consumer. We're appealing to their better judgment. We're appealing to their taste, to their standards, to their values, to their ethics, to their integrity, to their superior view on the world and this particular field. And then you make the connection and you bridge the gap. And again, what do they do when they hear that? They emotionally connect. Okay, now here's the call to action. As we need to understand that marketing claims, this is a creative process. We can't just rattle them off without some careful planning and thinking. So I want you to take a handful of different products, a handful of different scenarios in terms of the business opportunity. Take some time to prepare, to plan, to copyright, appeal to emotions, be creative, look for solutions, and embrace the facts. Okay, as we do that, I think we're going to have a wonderful example of a myriad of different claims that we can use left, right, and center with confidence, with conviction, and with skill. But it doesn't just roll off the tongue without any preparation. Making these types of claims and being a marketer, we are network marketers, right? Being marketers does mean we need to take time to flesh things out, get creative, play around. And like I said, when you've got some messages out there that you're wanting to use, shoot them over to the office, let them have a look, and scratch the ones they say no to, use the ones that they say yes to. But understand that the feedback you get from the office is driven by the compliance department, not the compliance department and the marketing department. Marketing doesn't have time to do all of our marketing for us, right? We do have time to be able to say from the company perspective that you can't do that or you can't do this. But it does take time to get those messages defined and get them clear and get them exciting and compelling. And Niken doesn't have the time or resources, and no other network marketing company does this either, by the way, to turn around and say, let me tell you what you can say on this, right? Let me give you all of your messages for you. That's our job. We're network marketers. It's our task to do the marketing in that context. So play, use these examples. I have got this recorded online. I've shared it before, a fuller, more robust presentation of this. If you want the PDF, let me know. I can shoot it over to you. But this is something that is very, very helpful. It takes preparation, it takes planning, but every marketing firm and every brand out there plans, they prepare, they craft, they recraft, they run it by legal, they run it by compliance, they make sure that this is something that they can get away with and all that kind of stuff. and they wrestle with it internally before it goes out, and you see the finished product, which you just think just sounds wonderful. Okay, so take the time to play. It'll be time well spent. But focus on all the things we can say, not simply the stuff we can't. Okay, because there's a whole bunch of stuff out there that we can have fun with. And I get really excited by this because I love marketing and I love playing with words. And it's a fun skill to develop and master. So have a play. And if you got any questions, of course, reach out to me as well. I'll be happy to support you in the process, and always defer back to the company for the final consent if you've got any question or concern in your mind on it. So thank you all very much. Any questions? We've gone a little bit over time, but any questions that you've got from what we've covered today that you may want to, Paul? Yeah. Oh, sorry, one sec, Paul, you're muted. Can you unmute your line? There we go.
Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so Jane Goodall, when she was observing the chimpanzees, she knew that they felt and that they thought. And what the scientists told her to say is, it's as if she is trying to predict what her baby will do. This as if. So I know somebody who says, when I got on the sleep system the first night, it's as if I died and gone to heaven. It was so wonderful.
That's
so can we use as if?
100%, yeah. It's it's creating a metaphor, right? And the imagery and interpretation of the individual as to how they respond to that is really personal, right? And it's not fact. It's really quite a wonderfully unfinished claim there. Yeah. So as if is a great example to use.
Thanks.
Yeah. Linda.
Hi there, Ben. This is a wonderful call. I have two quick questions. I've noticed in recent years for our 5 pillars of health, we're now saying 5 pillars of wellness. Should we not be using the word health any longer?
No, that was
my
just
first question.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That was changed really because the connotations of the word health in that framework, talking about the 5 pillars of health, when we think of the health system, we actually think of people that are sick and going to hospitals and getting treated by doctors. That's kind of what conjures up in our mind the imagery of, we're talking about, health. We're actually kind of often talking about sickness, disease, and all that kind of stuff. So we're like, look, we're in the wellness industry. We're in that wellness space. 5 pillars of wellness just seems to resonate more clearly, and the connotations behind that are just more relevant. So that was really what it was behind that.
Oh, excellent. My second question is, when I first joined Nikan some years ago now, we were calling ourselves the #1 wellness company globally. Can we still say that?
I would be inclined not to use that language.
Okay.
Because I mean, you can obviously interpret what #1 specifically what in terms of what our products are that we offer, in terms of
sales,
in terms of revenue, in terms of people, in terms of community. It can be interpreted 1,000 different ways. But as soon as you start to get really specific in a claim like that, you are often inclined to need to back it up and validate it. Using that Ford example, we are 700% quieter. Well, they were using an unfinished claim, but they made the mistake of putting a statistic in there as well, which the FTC came back on and said, back that up.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, 700% quieter than outside. Right, and they have to play around there. So it's easier just to play with some of those other phrases and claims and go from there.
Yes.
So, Gloria.
Thanks for this again, Ben. I'm noticing a change of language in the shopping cart, which is the newest thing that the IT department had their hands on. So I'm guessing those are all our safe words. And also Bill Cottle was talking to Mabel, who does the blogs. Yeah. And she said they have been run and picked through by compliance. And so we should use that. And she asked us to use it more, to subscribe to it, to share it, because anything that we don't use or move off the shelf, we know can disappear. So
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
need
That's
to
a
use it
good
more.
point. Yeah, it's a good point, Gloria. Yeah, anything that is on NICAN official documentation has gone through a very carefully vetted process, right? So you can rest assured that if it's published and produced by NICAN, it's language and terminology that we can use ourselves, right? So yeah, that's a great place to start and to play, and take some copy from there and integrate it into our own messages and things, and you'll always be in a safe space that way too. So excellent. So okay, thank you everyone. I'm seeing a couple of people. Yeah, a couple of other examples. Jeannie, yeah, hyperbole, a great example there. Jeannie, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. But like I said, I mean, he's raising the same point here. This is so fun. It's a creative experience, and sometimes it might be hard to do it as an individual person. Maybe get a couple of people together from your team and jump on Zoom and say, we're going to come up with some claims that we want to be able to use together, have fun with, and have a fun kind of creative kind of thrashing out session together where you play around, say, we're going to work on this, we're going to work on this product, and maybe the business model or the business opportunity here. And let's get half a dozen claims that we feel confident we can use. And like I said, kind of bouncing ideas off each other is really helpful. It's fun, it's enjoyable, but you can get some great ideas coming out the other side. And then you get to share them with other people, and you empower your team as well. And you get them all thinking the right way, which is focus on what we can say, not on what we can't, right?
Yes.
And that's a process. It takes a while. I'll finish with this thought. Who was it that Oscar Wilde, the Irish playwright, author, wrote a letter to a friend many years ago. Of course, he lived many years ago, and he said, "Excuse me, apologies for the long letter. I didn't have time to write a short one." Right, and I love that because the reality is, I found this when I was writing my book. It was one thing to write, to then edit, to craft. That's a whole different project, in and of itself. To get this many words and craft it down to that without diluting the message, that's tough. That takes skill. All right, so understand, if you're just trying to get a sentence, don't beat yourself up and go, why is it so hard to get a sentence out? It's actually really hard to get a sentence out. But when you get it, when you craft it and you nail it, mate, that is awesome. Okay, it's good. But it is crafting. It's poetry. This is being clever with your words, and it takes time. It takes persistence. It takes maybe use ChatGPT, right? That's that wonderful AI tool to help you out. It'll give you a load of stuff real fast. So have a play. Okay, a couple more comments, and then we'll wrap up. Barbara.
Ben, are you posting this on WhatsApp? Will you be posting this call?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
No problem.
Ben, you have a lot of requests to send the PDF out. Could you just post the PDF on WhatsApp?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
everybody can collect it.
Sounds good. I can do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Karen.
Yes. So I'm wondering, first of all, this was fabulous because I've been feeling lost. This is going to be a huge shift for me after doing a master's degree and learning APA style of writing, which is very precise and exact. This is a whole new shift. So, although I really enjoy using fluffy words, I'll call them.
Yeah.
Okay. Emotional words. When I do it, when I speak with people, I do more exact words because they understand. And so it's going to take some work. And I like the idea of working with the team.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, you have all of this knowledge, all of this information. Is there a book that we can get?
That's a great question. I'm looking over at my bookshelf, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a ton of books. I'll maybe send out a list if anyone's interested. Maybe just shoot me a note if you're interested, because I don't want to overwhelm people. It depends on what kind of. I've got tons of books on marketing. I've worked in marketing professionally. I've run marketing departments, and I love words, right? So it falls into my space of, what do I like to read in my spare time? actually books on marketing is a big favorite kind of topic of mine. I do enjoy it. So I could send out a list. I've got a load here. It'll take me a while to sift through, but I can send out a list for anyone that wants some to have a play with.
That would be awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Ben.
Yeah, no worries.
Can you just post that list too, Ben?
Sure.
Save you sending out multiple emails.
Sure, I can do that. I can do that. Lorraine? You're muted, by the way.
Okay, if you're sending out that PDF, if there's the word help is in it, maybe it should be edited before you
Yeah, I'll
send
do
it
that.
out.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I'll
make it-
edit that word out.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. Gloria?
Just something that happened this past Saturday. I was working at an event with a brand new consultant, and so I was being very careful with my words. And I found that asking questions, something that we discussed in many, many trainings. When
Yeah.
someone said, "What is this going to do for me?" And I said, "What do you think feeling really hydrated feels like?"
Yeah.
And they said, "It sounds like I'd feel pretty good." And
There
I
you go.
wasn't going to disagree with them. Same
There you
thing.
go.
How am I going to feel on the sleep system? Or ask them, how do you feel after you get 8 hours of sleep?
Yeah.
And they joke about never getting 8 hours of sleep. So I think we can go right back to that early
Absolutely.
training.
Yeah.
Ask them.
Yeah. Asking questions and letting them fill in the gaps is a great way to do it. Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. This has been great. And thank you for so many questions and requests and what have you coming through from this. Clearly a subject that is relevant and helpful to a lot of people. So thank you. Anytime you want to reach out, by the way, I did this call because Gloria reached out yesterday and said, "Hey, Ben, I think this would be really worthwhile." So I jumped on it and made sure that we covered this subject. If you ever get subjects where you go, "This would really be helpful to me to understand X, Y, or Z," let me know. That's what these calls are for. So that would be great. Thank you all so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. And let's get together in our groups and craft our messages and have some fun. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ben.
Bye-bye.